Alright, so my name is Tet W, and this is Crash Bandicoot 100%. The goal of this category, obviously, as the category name implies, is to get 100%. In order to get 100%, you have to get all of the gems. And to get all the gems in Crash games, you have to break all the boxes in a level and not die after a checkpoint. We'll get to more of that later. Crash 1's core mechanics are more basic than in Crash 2 and 3, but at a deeper level, and in speedrunning things can get way more deeper, and we'll talk about those more later. So in most spots in this game, you don't get invincibility, but this level and some other levels are the exceptions. The reason you want to get invincibility here is because of this bridge of boxes up here. Without the invincibility, you're meant to bounce on the boxes individually, but with the invincibility, we can just walk right over it. Yeah, this level just has some split paths where you have to go and break some boxes. And then after each level, there's a little completion screen. The main movement tech in this game is zigzagging, but I'll get to that a couple levels from now because there's something that really shows it off well. So this level is the first level that you're not supposed to be able to get the gem on the first pass, which means we can't get all the boxes on the first pass, but there's a pretty easy skip in this level that we can do to get to the area that has the secret boxes without the color gem. You noticed in the last level we got a clear gem, but some levels give you a color gem, and the color gems act as platforms in other levels. So in this level you're supposed to have the green gem, but we can get to that area without it. You just get this invincibility again, and we're going to jump on some scenery and get to a hidden part. Bounce up there, bounce on a bouncy crate you can't see, move up in the air, and we've broken the 3 secret boxes. But yeah, you just want to get invincibility for that because it's easier. Since when you have invincibility, it's easier to break boxes that are around you. There was a mistake. You're supposed to break the life crate in between the TNTs. I guess now I'll mention that I'm using the Japanese version. The Japanese version is faster for 100% speedruns of this game because there's one level that you have to backtrack to in the other versions, but in this version you don't, and that's because there's a color gem earlier on, but I'll talk about that more later when that level comes. It's kind of funny, in each completion screen and all the gems you have flies by, so as the game goes on and we get more and more gems, you'll start seeing a dozen of them. So this game has a mixture of 3D and 2.5D and backwards levels, and this level is the first level that goes left and right instead of forward. And this is another level that you're supposed to have a color gem for to backtrack to, but there's another skip for this level. This one is the easiest level to skip in my opinion. There's 4 levels that you're not supposed to be able to complete on the first pass, but we have skips for, and this is the second one. There'll be another one in a couple levels, and then another one way later into the game. These mossy slopes, you go faster when you're going down them and you want to spin. So here's the skip. You bounce off the turtle, take a hit on the spike, which gives you a jump, and then you walk out of bounds, then walk back into the level, into the secret area. Pretty simple. Definitely the most simple of the skips, and the easiest in my opinion. I think everyone who learns this game should learn the skip in this level and the previous level right away. I think any skill level can do them. Here we go behind the level, because there's a hidden box. Kind of a jerk move by the developers since you can't see it. You're going all the way back here, there's fruit, but there's a hidden box that you don't see. I just know where it is, obviously. But there's nothing in the main path, so we can just jump out and keep going. You may have also noticed back there that I jumped off a box and broke it at the same time. That's not too hard, but you do need to practice it. You can do it on at pretty much any type of box in this game, including TNTs, which we'll get to later. So yeah, 3 gems. The developers only intended you to have 1 at this point, though. Alright, so boulders. This is the first level that goes backwards, and one of 2 boulder levels. It's just like Raiders of the Lost Ark type. You get chased by a boulder. If you die to the boulder, it instantly kills you, but This level is very good for demonstrating the main movement technique of this game, which is zigzagging. Zigzagging, there's a bit of a complicated explanation for it, but the most basic way I can explain it is just alternate diagonals. Like based on the direction where you're going. So here we're going down, so I'm trying to alternate down left and down right as much as possible. And the more I do that, the faster it is. And like those who have played this game casually or whatever know that that boulder is supposed to be right on Crash's tail pretty much, but by abusing zigzag, we can get way far ahead of it. This level has some boxes on the main path, you just have to make sure you break. The boulder doesn't break them for you, it's funny, it actually jumps over them. In later Crash games, the things you get chased by break them, but not here. There's no boxes on like the chase sections in the next boulder level though, which is weird. You would think the one that's supposed to be harder would have them. Alright, so the next level is another level that we're supposed to have to backtrack to with the orange gem, but we can get all the boxes on the first pass. First we're going to grab the mask at the start, because we want to get invincibility at a later part in the level. And the reason invincibility helps here is, like I said, it helps break boxes easier. And I'm going to do a submarine jump to access a box that is under a bridge. That you're supposed to have orange gems aid you in getting it. And a submarine jump is when you spin off a ledge. You spin as you're going off a ledge, and the spin is continuing while you're falling. But after the spin animation completes, if you press jump within 10 frames after the spin animation finishes, you can get a mid-air jump. As the game goes on, we'll abuse that more, and it looks pretty cool, like especially on 3. There's the submarine jump. And the next part of this skip is pretty weird, and definitely the hardest part of this skip. I'm going to stand on this lily pad and try and get in the right position, and if I do, when I do a diagonal jump against the wall, Crash will start climbing up it, and then we'll be walking out of bounds. It's quite fascinating, really. It's way more inconsistent than I just made it look, but things have developed that have actually made it a bit easier. Basically, there's just a range of like certain parts on that lily pad that you can stand on and Crash will go up the wall. But also, when you're walking out of bounds and Crash is off camera, there's holes, and you have to know where those holes are and jump over them. So it's like, it's not over once you get the skip. Alright, first boss. Bosses in Crash games are known for being kinda underwhelming auto-scrollers, if you will. With this boss, he actually has more health points than on the American version. He has 5 here and 3 on the other versions. And I assume that's just because they wanted to make him less easy, even though he's still quite easy. When you hit him, you just have to wait for his invincibility frames to go away. Like if you look closely, you can see he's flashing. I made a little mistake there. And you just start spinning more, or not spinning more, but spinning faster each phase. Pretty basic. Alright, so this is the first level that we cannot get the box gem on the first pass, because the secret area that has the extra boxes, you have to get the blue gem for. Like, we haven't found a skip for this at this time. So we're just going to do an any % pass of this level. Don't have to break any boxes. And instead of getting a gem at the level, 1 box will fall on Crash's head, and the game will tell you how many boxes you missed. Something worth noting is that on the Japanese version, 1 box falls on Crash's head at the end regardless of how many you missed. On the American and European versions of the game, it's the amount of boxes that fall on Crash's head is the amount you missed. So that's a bit quicker on this version. If you're running this on the American or European version, on levels where you can't get the gem, you want to do what we call a death abuse. And that's just dying past a checkpoint, because if you remember earlier, I mentioned that in order to get gems in this game, you have to not die past a checkpoint. But if you're in a level where you can't get the gem anyway, if you just die after a checkpoint, you won't get the box screen at all. But on the Japanese version, that doesn't work, so there's no point in death abusing for that specific thing. Alright, so Hogwell, there's only 2 like vehicle levels in this game that like aren't like straight up platforming. The second one we won't see till later, it's a secret level. But yeah, this is on rails. This is pretty much just an auto-scroller. Yeah, I just have to make sure we get boxes. You can't turn around if you miss boxes. And we can get the box gem on this level. There's no secret paths or anything or color gems required on vehicle levels. Yeah, a level like this would be good for donations. Same with most of the bosses. If you're wondering about zigzagging in this level, it doesn't work. In fact, each time you move left or right, the hog squeals, like makes an individual squealing noise. And so if you're on a older PS2 model, that could potentially cause more lag. But yeah, other than that, it's an auto-scroller. I guess I should also mention, now that I brought that up, that for Crash 1 speedruns we use PlayStation 2s instead of anything else because the PlayStation 2 comes with a fast disk speed for playing PS1 discs, and that makes the loading times much faster. Like, look at this, it's only a few seconds. Whereas on a PS1 or an emulator or a PS3, the load times can be several seconds longer, and that saves a couple minutes throughout the run. So yeah, Native Fortress, this is another level where you can't get the box gem. You need the red gem to get to a secret area near the end, so just another any percent pass. This level can be quite challenging. There's just all sorts of obstacles and some pretty difficult cycle skips. I feel like this level should have been placed at a later point in the game, just because I feel like this level is too difficult for this point in the game. You're only 8 levels in if you don't include bosses. Yeah, that's just my opinion. So at the start we got a mask, and that allows us to damage base off that spike and do an out of bounds, very similar to the one we did in Great Gate. This one doesn't necessarily save or lose time, but makes that a heck of a lot easier. Little mistake there. No big deal. Here you can go behind the level. You do that on both visits because there's no boxes on the main path, just a bunch of obstacles. Because there's so many cycles there, you definitely want to go behind that, so you never have to wait on any of them. There I got pretty bad cycles, so I just death abused. Dying also resets cycles. That's pretty important, especially in a couple future levels. And yeah, these torches are bouncy, but if you spin on them, it cancels the big bounce, so that can be useful in some spots. It's also sometimes just preference. Alright, so this is the first island completed. There's 3 different islands. I guess you could say they act as the worlds in this game. In my opinion, the run gets a bit easier after maybe 30% through the 3rd island. But that might just be because that's where I prioritize my practice. Alright, so up the creek, this level's pretty simple. We can't get the box gem on this level. There's just a bit up ahead where we have to hit this exclamation mark box, which triggers some boxes in an area that we already passed, but I'll get to that when it comes. Oh yeah, there's a little cool trick here. Here we pull back the camera by stepping down, and then jump before moving it forward again, and that lets us skip that blue plant cycle without having to wait on it, because those plants will instant kill you if they eat you. Also, you might notice there's a little mistake I made back there, but I recovered it with a submarine jump. Submarine jumps can be used all throughout this game. I think everyone should learn them. They can save you, especially breaking boxes near ledges. Crash games are known for dropping your input if you spin near a ledge, but if you submarine jump, that just doesn't apply. So up here's the area where we need to hit something and backtrack, but we also want to hit these lily pads in a certain order so they're not all sunk. So we don't have to wait for them to come back up again like this. Like I didn't have to wait. I'm going to bounce on that, go back, and then go forward, and now they're just all reloaded again. There's a few different ways to do that part, but that one's certainly marathon friendly. Up here I'm going to do a snipe. I'm going to spin that fish, and it's going to hit some boxes up there. This doesn't necessarily save time, but it makes it easier because you only have to break 1 box as opposed to 3. Snipe's pretty simple. It's just spinning enemies into crates or into other enemies. Alright, so coming up is Ripperoo, second boss. Again, not too much to bosses in Crash games, but he has 3 phases. In the first phase, we're just gonna step on the TNT and let it blow up when Ripperoo's near it. But on the next 2 phases, since in bosses you spawn with 2 masks, we can just damage beasts on the TNT so we don't have to wait for them to count down and blow up. Again, bosses in Crash are pretty good for reading out donations. That's a pretty cool swag trick there. You can fall in the water at a certain time, but it won't actually kill you and you'll still leave the fight. Alright, so Lost City, another one of the 2.5D levels. Now on this level in the American and European versions you get the green gem. But on this version we get the red gem, which is why we only have to visit a future level only once, because that level requires the red gem. But again, I'll explain that more when we get there. In that little niche there was a exclamation point box hidden off screen, and that triggered that box below that Brio token. I should also mention hidden mask up there, pretty useful if it's on the right cycle. You do not need the Tana and Nitrous Brio tokens, the Tana one being one I just picked up and the Brio one like right there. You don't need them for 100% completion. They changed this in the Insane Trilogy, like the remake of these games, but for this you don't. The Tana tokens act as save points in the Brio ones. No one really knows what those are for, I guess just they do have lots of extra lives. It can also just be an extra challenge if you want. So these things that come in and out of the wall, you can bounce on them while they're in the wall. It's a 3-frame trick, and you also have to do it while you're turning around. I think I'll go for that in the marathon. But at this time in my PB, I was struggling with them, so I decided to take the time loss. Pretty bad cycles here. Yeah, this level is pretty hard in this run, especially if you go for some of the harder cycles. Up here there's a cool trick. I'm going to try and hit this exclamation mark point box from the side like that, so I can just keep on going, don't have to wait. It's pretty cool. It's actually not as hard as it looks. Alright, so the next level is Temple Ruins. There's two levels that have this sort of dark temple theme. And I like to think of these levels as just a giant hole with a bunch of small platforms. These kinds of levels are very easy to die in. I guess now I'll introduce spin invincibility. There's certain obstacles in this game that you can survive if you just spin through them. One example here being these spears, though. If you're in a situation where there's 2 spears, you often don't want to do it because it's very precise. And also, if you're spinning through them through the air, it's risky because your spin lasts for less frames in the air than it does on the ground. Here I'm going to damage beasts on this fire since I have 2 masks. Up here, there's a weird thing in this game where some of the secret areas have invisible bridges that just appear when you walk on them. Here, I'm going to step to the right before breaking these 2 boxes, and that triggers this flame so I don't have to get hurt by it or wait on it. A little corner skip there, that's cool. Note that from this point forward, as long as you played the level, like everything coming up to this point pretty well, these cycles are consistent. Not the whole level, but like the part where I did that flame cycle manipulation. If you do that well, these cycles would be consistent and quick. Didn't have to wait on stuff here. Like that there is the God cycle, I'm pretty sure. That was pretty good. Pretty good. Alright, so the next level is Road to Nowhere, which is the first of the two bridge levels. Pretty notorious for being quite hard casually, but honestly the zigzag makes them a lot easier. I find these levels to be pretty relaxing in speedruns. The biggest thing that scares me is dropped inputs. And dropped inputs, for those who don't know, are just when the game lags or just doesn't want to function properly and doesn't let you jump or spin. And back there was a little TNT spin. There's different ways you can spin TNTs and not survive them, but it's pretty simple. You just can blow it up before the explosion hits you. That application of it is one of my favorites because you're falling in front of it and breaking it. That there is a cool little optimization with those two boxes. You don't really think much of that, but it saves time. You know how I said your spin it doesn't last as long when you're in the air? There you want to use that small spin to break the top box and then bounce off the second one, giving you as much zigzag time as possible. More TNT spins here. I actually messed up here, so I had to reroute what I did with those TNTs, but yeah, still pretty interesting. It wasn't that bad. And yeah, red gem available. I can access that secret path. That's not something you have available to you at this point on the other versions, and that is pretty much the sole reason why the Japanese version is faster for 100% speedruns. But yeah, again, the American and European versions have to revisit this level twice in a section of the run that we call the backtracks. You're often meant to be bouncing on these turtles, but with a zigzag you pretty much always don't have to. Here, this is a pretty silly part of the game in my opinion. These two boards I jump on each, that's all you have to jump on. Like it's not just a solid bridge the whole way. So the first time you ever play this level, like you have no idea what to do there. It's pretty silly game design. So the next level is another level that we can't get all the boxes on the first pass, Boulder Dash. We need the purple gem from it, which we get at a later point. Second boulder level. This one just has more holes and more obstacles, more fences, more posts. Yeah, I hope a skip gets found for this level because it's pretty boring on the first pass, just trying to do as much movement as possible. And I forgot to mention actually that in addition to jumping and zigzagging in the air, you want to do spins. Spinning is just fast. Spin, spin, spin. But beware, you do not want to spin too much in this game or else you'll get called spin timered, as we like to call it. Which basically, you could spin 6 times in a row and then you won't be able to spin for a couple seconds and you have to wait 2 seconds to be able to spin each time again. Think of it as a meter that drains as you spin more but also fills up over time again. There's something pretty neat here in this section of the level on the revisit, but that's at the very end of the game. Like, this is the last level I do on the revisits. Yeah, this level's another good point for donations, reading out donations and such. This part at the end here can drop my input a lot, so I'm pretty easy on the zigzag. It's especially scary on the revisit because, as we talked about before, if you die past a checkpoint on a box jam visit, you have to re-enter the level. It's artificial difficulty. Alright, so this is pretty interesting. This level is on a different point in the game on the American and European versions. We're supposed to be at Sunset Vista, but we're at Slippery Climb. And the reason they gave for switching the two levels is because they thought this level was easier, which is debatable. Yeah, this level has some cool stuff, and again, the spin invincibility, except with the spikes, you need to get off them quickly when you spin on them. You can't just stay on them. Oh, I guess I can talk about cycles. There's 3 different types of cycles in this game, pretty much. There's global cycles, spawn cycles, and local cycles. Local cycles there's only one example of, really, which is cycles that start when you enter the level. But most of the cycles in this game are global cycles, like the stairs here in this level, which means the cycles are running as long as the game is not paused and not in a loading screen. And I think the reason they made it like that is like it was their attempt to make the cycles quote unquote random, but they're not random. They're not random at all. Though because they're global, they can be hard to predict in certain levels. And there's also spawn cycles. Spawn cycles, like the cycles start moving when you're within a certain proximity of them. An example of that would be the rollers on the half pipes in Jungle Rollers and Rolling Stones. So those cycles are the same every time. I played this level too safe in my PB. There's a little cycle skip here I'll probably go for in the marathon. Oh, I do go for it in my PB. Okay, for some reason I thought my PB didn't go for that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. You get the boxes, but also make sure you don't have to wait on the cycle. It's not that hard. Alright, so third boss, Koala Kong. This is one of the only sections in this game that has RNG. And the RNG in this fight is how many times Koala Kong steps to our left before he throws the big boulder, which you throw back at him. The minecarts aren't RNG, same with the TNTs that fall. Easiest way to do this fight is just stand on the right side. The TNTs won't bother you. Yeah, it's a great time for donations. In a task, obviously you can manipulate like how many times Koala Kong steps to his right before he throws the boulder, but in real-time speedruns, it's too inconsistent. Pretty much any movement you do with Crash will change like that bit of RNG, but it's not consistent. You can just sort of move around and hope, but it will either benefit you or it won't. You don't have much control over that. Oh, and that's a little neat thing there. A lot of people don't know about. That's something that's still in the game from the prototype. You can push those boulders to the right and try and spin it back a bit quicker when the minecarts are in the way. I think it's pretty cool. Because in the prototype version of this game, you actually had to line up the shots on the rocks, so you had to move it. Like, it didn't just home in on them. In other words. Alright, third island. This island is much longer than the other ones. This is one of my favorite levels in this run. It has some cool stuff. Here there's a secret section under here with some boxes. You're supposed to do it from right to left, like there's a later section with two enemies that hint off, hey, jump down here, there's a secret, but you can just jump from it from there and it's obviously faster. Like there, that's where you're supposed to jump. I guess I'll point out now, or just mention this. The reason there's no audio in this submission is because I'm dubbing it over my PB. I was in a voice chat while I was doing this run and there was swearing and stuff, so obviously I don't want it. You can jump around these steam vents, but didn't really have to there. Here you can do a submarine jump to skip that, but it's pretty risky and 100%. The little pipe that's sticking out of the wall can block you. But I might go for it in the marathon, might practice it a bit more. But there's another one up here anyway, that is like, even for last year anyway, and it's much easier, so. Oh, there you want to bonk off the lower box, I don't know why I did that. Obviously it's faster, you spend less time in the air falling. Alright, here's the next submarine jump. Pretty cool. Again, you just spin as you're falling off a ledge, or rather as you're about to fall off a ledge, and jump within 10 frames after the spin animation finishes and you get a mid-air jump. Here you can spin these bouncy pads as you're going up to them and they'll automatically bounce you. Like, you don't need to wait until you fall back down onto them. It's pretty flashy. That's a pretty flashy level, one of the flashiest in the run. Alright, so this next level is another one of those levels that you're supposed to not be able to get all the boxes on the first pass, but we have a skip for it. There's a strategy for getting into the blue gem path and for getting out. But yeah, this level's kind of a maze, but obviously we have the fastest route for it. That part there is pretty funny. I just laugh at that whenever I watch this PB. Bunch of dumb mistakes. Oh, and also spin invincibility again. You can spin through these little electric things that shoot. But you do have to be careful because, again, your spin lasts for less time when you're in the air. There you have to hit that exclamation mark box because it makes all the boxes in the bridge near the end of the level spawn. Here we're going to go this way and then snipe an enemy into a box. Here you're supposed to like do it from back to front, but we do it front and hit that enemy, spin it into the box, and we're good. It is faster than going through the back. So here's the entrance. We're going to try and get caught on this wall and do a bunch of mashing with jumping and spinning and then get out of bounds. And then do some movement on the D-pad, which gives us a camera warp. And I believe the way that works is the camera thinks you're supposed to be in one spot, but you're not, so it just puts you there. And then you just have to jump back into the level. The reason you're like standing there on nothing is because that's where you were when the level wasn't loaded. And here there's a clip on the wall we're going to do one of those submarine jumps off of. We just set up a position, and bam. The method for that at the time I got this run, back in late June, it's pretty inconsistent. We didn't understand like how that clip worked. We actually thought that the clip moved around, so a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, but lots of runs were killed because that clip wasn't there, and because it's above some acid, you die and your run's over, so. But new things have developed. Shoutouts to the 8-bit beast that supposedly make that more consistent. Apparently it's something to do with the camera, which I could believe, because the camera in these games is pretty whack. Alright, Generator Room. This level is a lot like the Dark Temple levels, like Temple Ruins, but just with a more machine vibe. The box is on that weird platform there. Like, that platform falls if you're on it for too long, but it takes a while, so you don't even have to worry about it. You want to get invincibility in the next level, so that's why I get those masks. Though I believe my PB dies at the start, so I don't get it, unfortunately. It's only a couple seconds, though. I got a bit scared here in my PB. You can obviously skip waiting on these. Like this one, the only reason I wasn't going for that jump at that time is because my controller was giving me issues with going down left. Otherwise, that jump is completely free. That there is pretty cool. You don't have to spin the TNTs there. It just sometimes works out that way. The timing isn't too demanding. It's kind of cool, though. Bit of swag. You can skip this moving platform here. We call it Red Hot strats. You just do a bunch of submarine jumps off some scenery. It's not that hard, but certainly really punishing for 100%. It only saves 3 seconds. Though I will be honest, I have thought about going for it if I get this in. It's really cool and it's not that hard, and I would only get better at it. Alright, next level is Toxic Waste. This level's gimmick is you have these guys throwing barrels. I have a pretty silly death here at the start. I think that might have just been nerves. Yeah, and then I messed up the box strat. The strat for breaking those boxes is pretty cool, if I get it. So yeah, Toxic Waste, the gimmick is you're on this really linear path and there's these barrels that the guys throw. The yellow ones, as you can see, just roll, but later in the level they introduce brown ones which bounce. So that gets a bit more challenging, though I think this level is pretty easy in the speedrun, except for the fact that you're trying to do a bunch of zigzag, and it's very easy to just go off the side, and this happens to all the runners. That's what makes this level challenging. And so because I was on PB pace here, I did take it pretty easy with the zigzag. Here I did the unoptimal strat. I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. You might think that was fast, but it's actually not. You want to do that thing I did in Road to Nowhere where you do an air spin on the top box and then land on the TNT. It just allows for more zigzag. The movement here is pretty neat. You'll notice that bottom TNT triggered. You might think, well, why not just leave and let it blow up? Well, this game has an issue where a lot of the time, if a TNT is like supposed to break boxes around it, it doesn't if it's off screen, so you gotta watch out for that. But as long as, if there's like two TNTs, but both of them are counting down, they'll both blow up. It's kind of weird. On the American version, there's a metal crate above those TNTs, so it triggers both of them, but on this version they removed that for some reason, so you do have to bounce on top of that box. Pinstripe, fourth boss, just hide behind the furniture to take cover from his bullets, and for some reason on the first three phases you can spin him 3 times in a row, but you can't for the last 3. It's pretty questionable. You don't exactly have to go behind the furniture, you just have to make the game think you're behind it, like there. It looks kind of funny, it makes it look like Pinstripe is missing you at point blank range. Stormtrooper tier aim. Save some frames on this boss. You can damage a beast to try and get close to him again. And hit him pretty much like right as he's vulnerable. Saves a little bit. You can also spin through his bullets. That's that spin invincibility thing again. Alright, High Road. This is the second of the 2 bridge levels. At the beginning there's this silly backtracking thing, again with only two planks each, with each jump. Really screws you over the first time you play this level. This level is pretty notoriously hard casually, but I think it's pretty chill in the speedrun. It's sort of a gimmick, I guess, in this level with these turtles. You're supposed to bounce on them, which makes them flip over, you might notice, before they go off screen. And bouncing on their bellies it lets you bounce super high off them, which you're supposed to use for clearing these big jumps, but abusing the zigzag and sometimes some submarine jumps, you can do that. Obviously it's faster because with the turtles you have to wait for them to flip over. There I went a little bit slower because there's a spot that can eat your jump there consistently. But if you just take it a bit slow, you should be fine. Also, this level is shorter on this version. They nerfed it. As I said, this level was notoriously hard casually on the American version, so they just cut off the ending here. And that does save a bit of time, but the main reason Japanese version is faster is because of the Road to Nowhere thing. Sunset Vista, we're supposed to be playing Slippery Climb here, but they switched the levels on this version. At the start we Death Abuse, and as I said earlier, dying restarts cycles in Crash 1, 2, and 3, and that's very important in this level because this level is so long. It's 4 minutes long. There's so many cycles in it, and if you keep waiting on cycles over and over, that adds up to a lot. Like, I think it can add up to 30 seconds. There I lost that mask, but that's actually not a big deal at all. Another issue in this level is the cycles can desync, but as long as you die at the start, they won't desync. Like, even if you're not going for the strats with the cycle skips, it still is a good thing to do. Because if the cycles are desynced badly enough, you might have to wait a long time for them to sync up again, or else they're just unpassable. It's an issue that's not in the American version. I believe it's also on the European version, though I don't have much experience with that. But yeah, this is the longest level on the run. I couldn't beat this level as a kid. It's very, very long. You might have noticed I was waiting a bit on the first floor, but it actually doesn't lose time. I'm not that good at explaining this concept, but sometimes you're forced to wait a bit, so it's a bit unnecessary to go fast in certain spots. Um, on the top floor, I'm gonna bounce off a checkpoint and hit an exclamation mark box that makes some later boxes appear. You're supposed to bounce on this red lizard here and wait for him to bounce off him, but obviously that's slower because you gotta wait for him. And here we have the Cortex tokens. 2 levels in this game have Cortex tokens. The reason you want to get 3 Cortex tokens, which gives you access to his bonus, is because there's a key you collect at the end. There's 2 keys in this game, and for each key you get, you unlock a secret level, which obviously has a gem, so we need to access those levels. You don't see those levels in 90%. There was a bit ahead of the cycle, so I just had to wait. Alright, so Cortex bonus. You don't have to break the boxes in these bonuses. You do in the remake, though, Insane Trilogy. You can jump around those walls of wooden crates. Or rather the second one, it's only faster for the second one. I hope to get better at doing that in the future. It's just hard to practice that because you're locked out of those bonuses once you save over them. So yeah, we're several minutes into this level and it's still going. Very, very long. And you're not going to believe this. This level was even longer in the prototype of this game. And way harder as well. You think this is long. Haven't seen the prototype. Alright, now we're on the last floor. Thankfully the last floor is very short. And we're done. If I were to die at the very end of that level, it'd be over 3 minutes lost. Though you don't have to redo the bonus round once you have the key. Alright, so lights out. This is the first of 2 dark levels. The other one is a secret one we'll do in the backtracks. The gimmick of this level is it's dark, you can't see anything, and your light source is Aku Aku, which is your mask. So by breaking mask crates, you not only have an extra hit point, but he acts as your light source. He lights up everything. But since he's your mask, also, if you get hit, you'll be stuck in the dark until you find another mask. That sub jump there was unnecessary, but it was cool, I guess. Oh, and this is another level where we can't get the box jump on the first pass. This is the last of those types of levels, so just doing a 90% pass. I never mentioned the mask hints. Hints are exclusive to the Japanese version. On specific masks, when you collect them, a text box appears. Which it wouldn't be a big deal if you could skip them by hitting triangle or something, but you have to skip them by pressing X or circle, which X makes you jump, and circle is an alternative spin button. So when you try and skip them, you do either a jump or a spin out of it, which can kill you, which is really bothersome in this level, but all the runners of this game know how to deal with that. A lot of the time you can do a submarine jump out of them by hitting circle. Alright, Jaws of Darkness. This has a gem path, but it's for a gem we already have. So no skip is needed. Damage beast there. Oh, I should also mention the Japanese version adds masks in some spots. One example is the mask at the start of this level. It's only in this version. Did I really wuss out on that in my PV? Dang. There's a respawn cycle in this level, which is the thing we did at the start of Sunset Vista, dying at the start. I just didn't want to implement it in this run. I was scared to because I was literally a minute ahead. So I don't think anyone can blame me. There you can do submarine jumps under those spears. But I didn't go for them only because it can eat your input. Like, it's really easy, but I was just very nervous on this run. There's a hidden box there. You'll see I went on top of the metal crates and bonked it with my head. Evil, evil 90s game design. Most people who play this level for the first time will miss that box and have to redo the whole thing. Might even take them a few tries to finally get it. So here's another point where you want to get invincibility. I did that really slowly for some reason. There's a fast way to break those boxes, but it's especially helpful for that TNT. You just blow it up and it breaks all the boxes. Yeah, I'm dropping frames, but I'll just use the local recording. I just thought I'd live stream this because why not? Okay, here, this level has Cortex tokens as well. You don't want to spin that snake, like snipe it into that TNT or else it will blow up the Cortex token. Okay, here this was nerves taking control. I usually spin that TNT and it breaks everything, but I encountered a situation there where like I failed to blow it up, so I wasn't sure if the TNT was going to break the boxes, so I wanted to be kind of safe there. 98% of the time I break the TNT. Yeah, hopefully when the summer ends I get my not 2000 dropped frames back. So I guess now I could talk about, before I say that, I guess these longer gem screens, like as the game goes on and I have more gems, these are good for reading donations. But anyways, yeah, I'm Tet W. I'm hoping to submit this to AGDQ 2019. This category has been shown before, but it was, like when the time AGDQ 2019 rolls around, it will have been 3 years since this category has been shown. It was done by Kane of Pocky. Not a terrible run back then, but it was also on a slower version, like he used the American version, which is slower, and also, since 3 years have passed, this game has changed quite a lot. Like back then, the world record was a 112, and now it's a 104. Me and another runner, White Paws, are thinking of submitting this as a race. It's looking to be most likely submitting as a race. He's another runner this game. I have second place. I had the world record a couple months ago. And White Paws is third place, but he's had the 90% world record before, so we're both at very similar skill levels. And consistency as well. So Castle Machinery, this level's gimmick in the speedrun is the big cycle at the end. It's a local cycle, pretty much the only example of a local cycle. And that just means the cycle starts moving when you first enter this level. It's not a global cycle. So, it's not that demanding to catch. You just have to play the level decently well. There is a faster cycle you can catch, but it requires a lot of really, really good play and some hard strats, especially with the box bridge that we'll see later. There's lots of different ways to do the box bridge, but I just do the way that gets it done, and I can catch the cycle. People are like, oh, why don't you do the faster strat? But you don't need to, because you can catch the cycle anyway. The way I do this just gets the job done. Any faster way to do it is swag, unless you go for the god cycle, as we call it, which no one does, so you're just wasting your effort. Like, bam, caught the cycle. I can be more ahead of it. I did make some very small mistakes. Here I messed up. Ideally I want to go around those steam vents, like just walk in front of them, but I messed up. And if I still have a mask, I can damage beasts on the red hot pipes back there. Alright, so now we have the last boss, and no, you don't have to fight Neocortex in this category. Only in 90% you have to fight him. He doesn't give you a percent or anything, and there's a different ending for 100% we go for. But yeah, fifth and final boss we do Nitrous Brio. He can throw green potions and he can throw pink potions. The green ones make these slimes spawn, and for some reason when you hurt the green slimes, they damage Nitrous Brio. I don't really get how that works. And the purple ones, or pink ones rather, just explode. Just have to dodge them. They changed this in the Insane Trilogy remake. They made it so when you stomp on the blobs, they squirt goo at him, which makes more sense. Here, I don't know, I guess the developers were thinking you just make him angrier. But yeah, he drinks the potions, turns into a monster, stomps around, and the stomping makes some bricks fall down, and you just jump on his head. Pretty simple. Though you don't want to go too close to Brio when he's throwing the potions, or else he'll do more animations. And you also have to be quick with killing the blobs to get less animations as well. Alright, so with this level, the exclamation mark boxes don't make boxes spawn, they trigger doors and trap doors, like the big metal doors here in the floor. Again, you can spin through electricity. Here I call this the box one cycle. You trigger the door to open, but you break all the boxes before it shuts, so you don't have to go back. It's pretty neat. Here are these electric guys, you can jump behind them. You're supposed to wait for their electricity to go away and then spin them, wait again, spin them into the hole, but obviously it's faster to jump around them. Here we're going to do a snipe with this enemy into a bunch of TNTs. You don't see them, they're already blown up by the time it's on screen, but yeah. And that also hit, the explosion from the TNTs hits some exclamation mark boxes, so you don't have to wait on the doors or anything. You can stand on the side in situations like that. And a little TNT spin at the end. That level can be pretty cool. Alright, so that's the last main level, and now we're going to do backtracks. The backtracks include secret levels we unlocked from the 2 keys, from the 2 Cortex bonuses, and levels that we can do now that we have a bunch of the colored gems, which give us access to secret areas. First level I do in the backtracking is Lights Out. This level has the last color gem. It's kind of weird because you need the yellow gem for it, and then it gives you the purple gem, which you need for another level. And so, like, people who play this for the first time, or do like a blind run of this game, they'll often go do Boulder Dash, which needs the purple gem, and they won't be able to complete it because they haven't done this level yet, which gives the purple gem. It's very easy to miss. This is a pretty easy level, but for me, on my console, for whatever reason, it likes to eat my input a lot, so that's what makes it scary for me. There's a part up ahead where I wait to try and not get a delayed jump, but I still get it. It was pretty scary when I did this run. Again, mask hints. Pretty annoying. I like to snipe that mask with that rat. Makes things a bit smoother there. Oh, I barely made that cycle in my PB. That scared the daylight out of me when I played this. See there? See how late my jump was? That wasn't me, that was the game delaying my input. That archway in particular does that a lot to me. I think I'm the only one whose console does that. But yeah, this secret area is pretty basic. Takes you up the tower, and there. Longer and longer completion screens. These are all the gems we've got. Perfect for reading donations, especially at this point in the run now that more and more stuff has been explained. Alright, Fumbling in the Dark. This is the first secret level. This level is pretty notorious, casually, pretty hard, because at the beginning here you have this stupid part that is hard to even know it exists. And this level is just very hard in general. In my opinion, this is the hardest level to get the gem on casually. I don't think it's that hard in the speedrun. Here you can do a submarine jump to cast that cycle, but I was too scared to do it because I had recently lost a run to that spot not long before this run. So I wanted to learn. You can use spin invincibility to spin through these pendulums, axes, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, same gimmick as Lights Out obviously, but with a lot of bigger jumps, more obstacles, and it's longer. Lights Out is actually pretty short compared to this. And it has spiders. Yeah, don't worry about the dropped frames on the stream. I'll use the local recording of this. That was silly. Blades. That's what we'll do. You don't want to be too aggressive on those last two blades there, because if you get hit, you bounce up, as you know, and it's very hard to recover from that in that specific area. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the first two islands and do some cleanup. The first thing I'm going to do is the second secret level, which is on the second island. Whole hog. Second of the two hog levels. The thing is it would be a very easy level if not for the bugs it has. This level isn't very well made. There's a certain box that you can walk over. We call it box glitch. Luckily it's preventable if you just go neutral and also try and hit it from as right as possible. And there's this certain hog cycle later on that can really mess you up, and it's almost feels glitched. That there was the box you can walk over, but I successfully did the setup. This cycle here can really mess you up. The timing on that cycle is like lag affects cycles. That's the thing with these games, and it sort of feels like you have to figure out what timing works for you on your console for that jump. And also this cycle up here, on my console I can just hold right and survive that, whereas I hear from other people with different PS2 models it doesn't work for them. So yeah, this level has all sorts of issues. It's very scary on PB pace. But luckily the box glitch thing is preventable. Alright, so we're going back to Island 1. If I don't get the skip in upstream, I have to go back and do that now, but I got it in this run, so we can go to Rolling Stones. The route of your backtracking is dictated by the masks you want, and also when you beat a level that isn't a secret level, it moves you up a level. And so if you need to keep going back, obviously you don't want to waste time on the map. Alright, so we have the blue gem, so we can access the secret area in this level now. Yeah, the levels that don't have skips are Rolling Stones, Native Fortress, Boulder Dash, Road to Nowhere on the American version, Lights Out. I believe that's all. That there is a cool TNT spin. Breaks all 9 of those boxes. There's a different strategy there White Paw's found recently that I didn't know of at the time of this run. You can get hit by that plant, which still like snipes it into the crates like in front of it, and the bounce up from getting hit lets you hit that 10 fruit crate. It's pretty cool. Alright, so there's 2 levels left. And then the Great Hall. The Great Hall is a level that you can only complete if you have all the gems. In any percent, you still have to pass through it, but there's a different exit if you don't have gems, and that takes you to Cortex. But again, you don't have to fight Cortex in 100%. Alright, Native Fortress. This level is notorious on the revisit, because now you can't die past a checkpoint, let alone the fact it's already a pretty hard level. I played it quite safe in my PB. I think more safe than I would have wanted, but I feel like I can't play myself. Not going to do the out of bounds on this visit because there's some boxes on the main path you want to get, so it's not really worth it. But at least this run shows it off on the first visit. Yeah, you can submarine jump onto that spike, but most people don't try that on the revisit for obvious reasons. Sometimes you don't have to do it though if the cycle is correct. You can just go under it like normally with a normal jump. You have to make sure you don't get spin timered on this revisit. I always try to make sure of that. That's why I bounced on that monkey instead of spinning him. Yeah, you can do this thing where you go behind the wall again because there's no boxes on the main path. Yeah, I played this top floor so safe. A lot of people do on PB pace. It's very, very, very scary. Alright, so this is the secret area. This is a pretty cool part of the game. You go up in the clouds. I think it looks pretty cool with this background. It's pretty. I like it. You can jump onto the clouds from underneath, like the bottoms aren't solid. This box stride is pretty cool. Bam. Though ideally I don't fall back on one of the upper clouds. Here you can fall all the way to the bottom, squeeze through. It's pretty neat. And the climb, there's some cool strats with boxes up here. You can break all 5 of these in one bounce. Didn't get it here. Oh wait, I did. For some reason I thought I didn't. And you can break that. For some reason I got stuck on the portal there. I had never seen that before. It scared me. Alright, so 25 out of 26 gems. Last level, Boulder Dash. And then we'll have 100%, and then we just gotta go get the secret ending. So yeah, last level in the run. It's good to put this level here because you'll usually have masks out in Native Fortress and you'll want this mask to do a damage boost on a TNT. You don't need the mask for the damage boost, you can just do a TNT spin, but it's quite risky because once you're past that TNT, the boulder triggers, and yeah, in the Insane Trilogy, the boulder breaks those boxes for you, but here it's different. Here you'll want a damage boost off it. You can just jump over those 2 posts back there, it's pretty neat. Bit faster. And up here is something pretty cool. We call this boulder skip. Here you have to zigzag enough to be able to get on the purple gem at the end of this level and not have to wait on the boulder. Note that the boulder moves a bit slower on the Japanese version than the American version, so this is easier than on the American version. It's not that demanding. Like, I'm nervous on PB pace here, but it's still enough zigzag to get past it. Yeah, here I play it safe with the movement here because, like I said on the first visit, I get dropped inputs there a lot. So yeah, that there is boulder skip. I can go down here, don't have to wait on the boulder. Yeah, you can do some snipes in this bonus. Pretty simple. And now we have 100%. Once all the gems go by, that is. So yeah, just using my personal best for this submission video. The final time is a 105.25. Though my timer displays at 26 because I split a bit late. The timing just ends when you lose control in the Great Hall. So yeah, here are all the gems you got, and your reward is the secret ending. Don't even have to fight the final boss. It's kind of funny. Yeah, not too much to this level, just some diagonal jumps you can do. And yeah, now we've lost control, so the speedrun's complete, and that's 100%. So yeah, Crash Bandicoot 100%. I do hope this run gets considered for AGDQ 2019 because it hasn't been shown in 3 years. The last showing uses very old strats. A lot of them are completely different now. We go so much faster in this category, and the Japanese version hasn't been shown at a GDQ, so that's yeah, it's something fresh. And yeah, the world record has been brought down like 8 minutes or something. So yeah, I hope this run is considered, and thank you for watching.